Okay, so for week two, we're looking at fundamentals of shape and color. This week, we're going to look at how designers will work with shape and color as their fundamental building blocks. You will learn about visual contrast, color, rhythms, and pattern in design. I'll also be showing you the process involved in making an abstract design from shapes and how to use that element to create a repeating pattern design. We'll look at how colors affect human emotions, color psychology, and we're going to look at the color wheel, and we're going to look at schemes and how to apply them in design. So that's what we're going to be looking at and working with for our week two. So we're going to start with shapes. Shapes are simple for design. We already know what shapes are. When you talk about shapes, what comes to mind are these simple shapes. You talk about circles, triangles, squares, trapezium, diamond, rhombus, parallelogram, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, decagon, showing a whole lot of sides. And this is just the basic shapes that we know. Now, shapes have a great role and they influence design. Now, one major factor about design, or rather about humans generally, is that humans are emotional. So, emotions drive behavior for humans. And that was the foundation of every detail that we do in design. We want to send an emotion that will eventually drive the behavior we want from our audience. And that's the reason we study in detail what to do to be able to send that emotion that's going to drive that particular behavior to make your customer either buy or subscribe to any package you want them to subscribe to. So shapes also have a role to play in this. Shapes can show emotion, shapes can show balance, shapes can also show a sense of direction in design. So if you want to okay, I will start with the basic elements, what forms into shapes. Okay, shapes are simply enclosed lines. Okay, so lines are the fundamental or the first basic element of a shape. So what forms a shapes are an integration of different lines that form a closure. So if this were just to be at the top, it were going to be just a horizontal line. If this was to be alone, this is a vertical line. But coming together forms a shape. So these lines that form shapes can send a sense of motion. So if you want to drive motion, or you want to show direction, point direction to a particular item in a particular design, obviously you use triangles. Okay, you're going to be using triangle shape to show direction. Triangles give a whole sense of direction. Then if you want to talk about balance, you want to show balance in design, you're going to consider using a rectangle or a square. They give more of a sense of balance in design. Circles are really more emotional. And that's the reason there are times you see people when they want to um, design flyers or something, some use circles to drive more emotion, or you can use square to show more of balance and confidence, especially they are doing a flyer and you have guests, you want to use someone's picture on that particular flyer. So it depends on what you want to drive. Do you want to send more emotional, compelling sense in that flyer, or you want to give a sense of balance and confidence? So that determines whether you're going to be using a square or a circle. The rhombus too also gives, if you look at rhombus and parallelogram, they have these parallel lines, okay? They also show a great sense of motion. They give a whole sense of motion in design. So how you use lines and shapes actually matters. Do you want to create more emotion? Do you want to show direction? Do you want to show motion? Or you want to give your design a sense of balance? So that determines the kind of shape you should choose or you should be using for a particular design. Okay, so we're going to do a practice in our next class to see how you apply shapes. So that's the basic fundamental about shapes. Now, there are three basic types of shapes. We have our geometric shapes, we have our organic shapes, and we have our abstract shapes. When we talk about geometric shapes are these ones that you see on this slide. The simple shapes we know, the circle, the oval, the triangle, the square, the basic shapes that we are already familiar with. Okay, so it's the advantage of using geometric shapes. The advantage of using geometric shapes is the fact that people are already familiar with geometric shapes, so it's easier. It's super easier to understand it. So if you want to pass a message as fast as possible, you want to pass a message as fast as possible, then you should consider using a geometric shape. People can easily recognize a geometric shape. And that's the reason in design, there are times we work on designs and we use a whole lot combinations of geometric shapes because people can easily understand that this is a circle, this is a triangle, this is a square, and you know, um, they might not really know that they're speaking about balance, but psychologically, that's the message it sends. So you, the designer, know these things, and that's the reason you apply them intentionally. Why they themselves on the back end, they are seeing this, they really do not know what's driving them to like that design or to take an action on that particular design. But because you know, you create it and you make it really easily relatable by your audience. So these are geometric shapes. It's important applying and using geometric shapes because people can easily understand them. Then when we talk about organic shape is another aspect, another area where people can easily also relate with. Organic shapes talks about shapes that exist in nature. For example, apple. Now, if you look at the Apple brand, it's very easy and relatable, very simple. Okay, when you look at Apple laptop, Apple phones, you're going to see that it's really easy. You just see it's an apple, as simple as that. Apple. Okay, you know the shape of a pear. When you see a pear, you know the shape. So these are shapes that occur in nature that when you see the shape, you just know this is it, this is it, this is it. So organic shapes are also another type of shape, and we have this interesting one, abstract shapes. Abstract shapes are really an interesting area in design to explore. So abstract shapes, if you explore a lot with abstract shapes, you're going to be very good with logo designs because logo designs require you to really apply all of this, your geometric shape, your organic shape, and your abstract shapes. So if you really do not know how to master or use shapes, logo design is going to be super challenging for you. So you really need to understand shapes, master them, learn them for you to be able to actually um be able for you to be very good in logo design. So shapes help a lot for logo designs, especially when you're talking about iconic logo designs. Either you're combining geometric shapes, or you're trying to do an organic shape, or you're trying to do abstract shapes. So um, these are the basic types of shapes. I'm going to be showing us in Illustrator how to go about your geometric shapes, then organic shapes, what you can combine to form an organic shape, and then what you can do to create abstract shapes that will help us in our logo design. So it's important that you really, really take shapes very seriously and understand them. So after shapes, another element in design is colors. Colors are really, 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 really one of the most amazing explore aspects in design to really explore. Like exploring color is really amazing. Colors can change your design. They can change everything about your design. They can make or mar your design. So colors are super important. Colors, I think colors drive one of the highest emotions in all the elements of designs. In when you talk about typography, shapes, lines, colors drive a whole sense of emotion. They give up a whole vibe. So colors are super important. If you mix up your colors or you're not good with colors, your designs are really going to have a lot of issues. So colors are fundamental when you talk about design. So we already know from primary school, when you're talking about colors, you're talking about primary colors and you're talking about secondary colors. When you talk about primary colors, you're talking about our red, our colors that occur naturally. I think RGB, our red, our green, and our no, sorry, our red, blue, and yellow. Okay, our red, blue, and yellow are our primary colors because they just occur. You don't need to mix any colors to derive these colors. These colors occur naturally, red, blue, and yellow. And when you mix two primary colors, you're going to get a secondary color. And if you have red and blue together, just like you can see here, you're going to have violet, which is purple. If you have our red and yellow here, we're going to have orange. And if we have our blue and yellow mixed, we're going to have green. So that's how we get that. And then tertiary colors come when you have a mixture of a secondary color and another primary color. Okay, so tertiary colors, when you mix orange and red, you're going to have red orange. When you mix orange and yellow, you're going to have yellow orange. And when you mix green and yellow, you're going to have yellow green. Then when you mix blue and green, you're going to have blue green, just like that. Okay, so this what we have here is what we actually call your color wheel. All right, so there are different formats of color wheels you can get online. You can go online, just type color wheel, and you're going to find this. So it's important that you use your color wheel when selecting your colors. Although there is a tool in Illustrator that actually helps you out with me matching and selecting colors, which I'm going to also show us how to do that using Illustrator. All right, so now colors, what emotions do they drive? Basically, we have colors in two categories. We have our warm colors and our cool colors. All right, so when we talk about warm colors, we're talking about colors that are really vibrant. They seem very loud to the eyes. When you see them, they feel warm, they feel loud to the eyes. And when you talk about cool colors, they have this calm sensation when you look at them. So they give you this calm feeling. All right. So what on what area should you be using a vibrant color or a calm color. So when you're talking about using vibrant colors, they are energetic, all right? They carry this youthful vibe. So if you're designing for youths, you're designing for teenagers, you're designing for young people, then you should consider using a really vibrant colors that match their energy. All right. And if you're designing for advanced people, people who are really older, then you should consider using cool colors because even apart from psychology, old people, their eye muscles are weaker than young people. So you should also consider that factor. So if your audience are really old, you should use cool colors, colors that are really suiting to their eyes, colors that they can look at and feel comfortable, not colors that they would look at and it's going to strain their eyes. So if you're designing for younger people, you should consider using warm colors. While if you're designing for advanced people, you should consider using cool colors. But beyond just that, um, you should understand that warm colors have a way of stimulating action and appetite, okay, for young people, or rather for people generally. Now if you look at food brands, restaurants, just from now begin to observe, check out every restaurant, you must find elements of red, yellow, or orange somewhere. Most of them, you must have elements of red, yellow, orange. If there is blue there, the blue must be vibrant. So they use these colors because these colors stimulate a whole lot of energy. Look at Coca-Cola, red. You want to look at Chicken Republic, red, yellow. Okay, so when you walk into a restaurant, all you're seeing are flashy colors. They put them there, it's intentional. If they put dark colors, if they're putting in brown, they're putting in dark colors for you, they are going to make less sales, okay, because it's not inviting. Why do they do this? Naturally, the food you eat, they really don't have dull colors. Check out all the food you eat. Check out your salad, check out your rice, check out your stew, check out your vegetables. Look at all the foods you have. They are vibrant, they look inviting. So that is the same feel you have to replicate for people when you're working on a design. So if you're working on a design that requires food, requires eating, consumable, something that people would eat, you should consider using warm, vibrant colors because they stimulate appetite a lot, and that's going to increase your chance that people are going to purchase, people are going to really get that product and consume that product. So these are the practical ways that colors play a role. Now, if you also look at the color black, now color black usually stands for sophisticated, okay? And when you look at black as a color, check out top fashion brands. They use black because black really stands out as being bold, being sophisticated, being elegant. All right. So top fashion brands use black a lot. So you're talking about Gucci, you're talking about Chanel, and a whole lot of other fashion brands out there. So just Google top fashion brands and you're going to find out that most of their colors are just black. If you get, it's there for a reason. It's sending a message. All right. So colors send a whole lot of message. Then when you look at the color gold and silver, they send a message of class. They send a message of the fact that this is luxury products. This is expensive. So you find out that most persons, if you look at most startup brands, Nigerian brands, they use gold. And I'm wondering, use gold, and how much is your product? And when they call the price, you shouldn't be using gold if your price is really low, because the what you're sending to people is this is expensive and this is a luxury product. Okay, it's really not an essential product. That's what it means when you talk about luxury. So someone can actually do without it. Okay, so when you're selling luxury products, send the message that it's a luxury product, and once that message is sent as a luxury product, what comes to mind is the fact that it's going to be really expensive. So if you're using gold and silver for your brand color, or for a design, you should know that this is the message you're sending. So you should be careful not to use that when you weigh the option of what you're designing. Is it expensive and is it a luxury product? Now let's look at car brands. Car brands. Check out the car brands that you know. Almost all car brands use silver. Check it out. You can go Google it after now. They use silver color because silver stands for luxury, expensive. Okay, so that's what they want to tell you, and that's the message they want to send. Now, colors can have really different meaning based on culture. So that's the reason you should also be careful to understand culture. To some persons, red might mean passion, love, anger. Why to some it might mean something different to some culture. So you should know, that's the reason it's important to know the audience you're designing for. If you're designing for people in Nigeria, you should know that this is what red stands for. If you're designing for people, now I think there's a country in the world where white it's a symbol of mourning. I think it should be in Asia, not so sure. White stands as a symbol of mourning. You get why over some parts of the world is a symbol of happiness, purity. Okay, so you must know these things, the audience you're designing for, before you apply these colors, if that's what you want to depict. So generally, when you talk about design and branding, these are what colors actually depict. Red, you're talking about passion, you're talking about love, you're talking about anger. Okay, so red is actually very passionate. That's the reason when you see love, you get when they're talking about love, you're going to see lots of red. And it's talking about passion, and all of that can also mean anger. Okay, so orange comes with energy, happiness, vitality. Orange also conveys creativity. Okay, sometimes, and then yellow has a real bubble of happiness, hope. Okay, and for some culture it can mean deceit. Now each and every one of them, they have their positive and they also have their negative side. Okay, what they mean or what they depict. Then green also talks about new beginning, something new, something fresh, abundance, nature. So if you're working on a something that requires nature, you should be incorporating green, obviously. Talking about something fresh, something starting. That's the reason when you find out most startup companies use green because they feel it's new. All right, so we're just starting, we're springing forth. So if you see most startup companies, they always like that green feel in their branding. All right, and then blue. Blue is another popular color for branding because it's calm, it's responsible. It can depict sadness too for some culture. um Blue is very nice, it's a very powerful color in design. If you check out most brands, you find out a lot of blues. I think the most popular colors for brands are the blue, green, and red. But blue works very well because blue stands as a symbol of trust. You see the fact that when someone is responsible, it gives you a sense of trust, to trust them. So people use blue to show that professionalism and bring that level of trust to their brand, showing that this is a brand you can actually trust and be comfortable with. Purple shows creativity, royalty, wealth. Yeah, obviously purple. And then black shows mystery, elegance. It can mean evil. Obviously, black is usually associated with evil. That's the devil. So you should know that too. Gray can be moody, conservative, or show formality. White shows purity, cleanliness, and virtue. Brown can show nature, wholesomeness, dependability. Okay, tan looks almost like red, conservative, petty, dull. Creamy can show calm, elegant, and also purity. So a whole lot of colors convey different message, different vibes, and different energy. Okay, can you still see my screen? Have you been seeing my screen all this while? Okay. All right. So that's what colors actually stand for. I told us the two classes that we could generally classify colors, and that's warm and cool colors. Okay, warm and cool colors. Okay, so